Good afternoon, I'm Shane Masters with the Midday News. A special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com. A 16-year-old girl from Kingston and St. Andrew is among 7 persons who died from COVID-19 in Jamaica. This has increased the country's death toll to 432. 4 of the deaths are from Kingston and St. Andrew. The others are an 83-year-old man from Manchester, a 72-year-old Westmoreland woman, and a 61-year-old man from Trelawney. The Ministry of Health says 2 of the deaths were previously classified as under investigation. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 case count is nearing 24,000. The Ministry of Health has reported 239 confirmed cases yesterday from 1,819 samples tested. This represents a positivity rate of 13.1%. Jamaica's case count now is 23,838. St. Anne recorded most of the new cases with 67, followed by Kingston and St. Andrew with 61, then Clarendon and Portland, which both recorded 20 cases. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry says 260 people have been hospitalized with a respiratory illness. Of that number, 25 are critically ill and 27 are moderately ill. The number of active cases now stands at 9,558. The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, says there was a 5 to 10% fall-off in its prediction for tourist arrivals for the first 3 months of the winter tourist season. Details in this report. As the country continues to grapple with the effects of COVID-19, the tourism sector continues to feel the pinch brought on by the pandemic. It has led to changes in how people travel, with many countries, including Jamaica, announcing that a negative PCR test is needed for entry.
Everyone coming into Jamaica must present a negative COVID-19 test, which was conducted within 72 hours prior to the date of travel, and they must present this at check-in.
But the JHTA says that it does not expect mass cancellations from the expanded testing requirement for travelers to Jamaica following Sunday's announcement. However, the association's president, Clifton Reeder, says he would have preferred if more time was given before the requirement takes effect.
I think we would need a little bit more time, maybe until the 10th, so that those people who had a window of 10 days before, if they had taken their test, and those who are trying to get tests done to come on island, that they will have a little bit more leeway in getting the test done to come to Jamaica. And that way we will be assured that any effect will be minimized.
In the meantime, Mr. Reeder says the sector is hopeful that things will turn around despite a dismal first 3 months.
We did a survey probably about 3 weeks ago, and another one is probably due now. That showed that the expectations that we had before fell by 5 to 10%, January through March. The last survey basically showed us 18 to 20% occupancy instead of the 28 going 30% that we were looking at. But I am hopeful, and I'm seeing signs now that March is picking up. We are seeing some occupancies even in the 30s, going to 40s. Of course, some people gonna be in the 20s still.
Shane Masters. More pressure on the tax administration, Jamaica TVJ, to revisit some of its operations in light of the pandemic. In primetime news last week, we featured crowds converged in St. Catherine and St. Andrew. On Monday, there was chaos at the Santa Cruz tax office in St. Elizabeth, with very little persons showing regard for the COVID protocols. Codian Barrett reports.
This was the crowd outside the Santa Cruz tax office Monday morning. Over at the parish court, the same, and no physical distancing in sight. The security guard explained that only 10 persons were allowed inside at a time, making service extremely slow.
This is the situation at the tax office in Santa Cruz. Total chaos. Nobody cannot get through. Nobody cannot get through. It's chaos down here. And this is going on for months, and it's every day. So we need to look, the government needs to look into this.
And with COVID-19 cases still on the rise, one resident decided he would do business another day.
Right now, you can't work at all. Right now, I go. I'm going to can't take a hold of a crowd thing. But I give them stuck upside down when they talk about COVID. I know we are going to COVID again. COVID right up our Santa Cruz right now. Yeah, man. I run for it. I'm gone.
Residents are suggesting that a bigger tax office be built with more cashiers or build more offices in the parish.
We need more tax officers, brother. People are suffer. Yeah, man, people are suffer, brother. So, we want workers, we want bigger tax office or more tax office. I'm there from 7:28 this morning and I'm 8:30. And now, the name not call it, brother.
Junction have no tax office, you know. So provide a tax office in Junction. So people will be, you understand, stay at Junction people will stay at Junction and man will stay a man. But just a bigger building needing in Santa Cruz. A bigger building. And employ more cashier, more workers.
It's not the first time persons have complained about the long lines outside the tax offices. However, when we contacted the Chief Corporate Communications Officer at Tax Administration Jamaica, Maris Horton, she says services have been offered online, but persons still insist on coming to the offices physically.
We have even done more promotions around our online services, trying to encourage persons to use the online services that are available. And it's not a matter, not in all cases is it a matter that they are not able to do. Just see where persons are coming in line using a credit card to pay for a service that is available online. So we continue to encourage persons.
Cody Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back, continuing the news. The Ministry of Health says it is looking to vaccinate over 240,000 Jamaicans in phase 1 of its vaccination program.
So we have the Governor General, the Cabinet Ministers, the Members of Parliament, the Senators, the heads of ministries, departments and agencies, or judges, the parish councillors, and then a special group of persons we identify as service-level public sector officers. Those are officers that face the public and therefore are at high risk for contamination from the virus. Overall, that is approximately 5,600 persons approximately. The next group of who will get it first is the healthcare staff in the private and public sector.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Duncan Bryan, also noted that schools will be included, both primary and secondary, in the public and private sectors. That includes the management of the schools.
Early childhood institutions. Our numbers look like approximately 18,203, and those numbers too are being refined.
The details were provided at a COVID conversation briefing a short while ago. Now, Mr. Bryan says that they are hoping to get at least 65% of the population vaccinated by March 31, 2022. The Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has announced that this year's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, will be held between June and July. It says results will be available in the last week of September. CARICOM Ministers of Education, all the regional education officials, and CXC representatives, including the Registrar, Dr. Wayne Wesley, held consultations on Friday and on Monday. Since then, at least one principal has weighed in on the matter. Principal of Yallis High School in St. Thomas, Mark Malabva, is of the view that the government's push to have only grade 11 returning to face-to-face learning is because exams are on the horizon. Noting the significance of the exams, he's concerned about whether his students will be able to complete their SBAs in time, despite an extension of the deadline.
Because the students were initially not coming in, and then when we started out, we were working with them. I am very hopeful that the SBAs will be completed, given the deadline, the new deadline that has been set.
Now, Yalas High is one of the high schools in St. Thomas that was given the green light to reopen back in November. But Mr. Malapva is worried about students from other schools that have been out of school because their school is yet to receive approval to reopen.
The truth is that the exams are expected to be face-to-face. It raises issues in relation to the validity of the exams and the reliability of the test scores. It really does. As to how it is that safety is going to deal with it, as to how it is that the government of Jamaica is going to deal with it, we do not know as yet, but these are legitimate issues, legitimate concerns that ought to be addressed.
Persons who fall in the priority groups for the COVID-19 vaccination program will be required to complete an application process when distribution begins. Speaking at a COVID-19 press conference a few moments ago, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dunstan Bryan, gave an outline.
If you wish to get an appointment, you must start the appointment process 5 days before you want your actual appointment. And when you ask for your appointment, you have to provide certain information: your age, date of birth, your area of work, comorbidity, your allergies, your address, the venue that you wish to be vaccinated at, your telephone number and email. Basic information that will guide us. Now, you can make this application or this application for appointment in 4 different ways. A call center has been contracted by the Ministry of Health, and that call center will operate our 888 One Love number, and persons will be able to call into the 888 One Love number and make an appointment.
Mr. Bryan said the application can also be done on the Ministry of Health's website as well as any of the regional health authorities' sites. He explained that prioritization among the vulnerable groups will be done after applications are submitted.
Care workers who work directly on the COVID ward or in A&E will be prioritized over other healthcare workers that are not in those high exposure areas. A very important part of our prioritization process is the fact that sometimes in some individuals, when they receive the vaccine and their bodies begin to mount a response, they begin to feel unwell for up to 24 to 48 hours. And so we can't vaccinate everyone in a particular area. So if we are vaccinating police officers, we can't vaccinate the entire police station because in one go. We'd have to stagger that vaccination because persons at that station may then become unwell and therefore will be required to stay home. And therefore it compromises the service delivery.
A Jamaican man in Toronto, Canada, has been charged with second-degree murder. According to reports, around 3:25 a.m. on Saturday, officers were called to a West Toronto neighborhood. When they arrived, 38-year-old Toronto resident Rupert Brown was found with injuries. He was later pronounced dead. 28-year-old Leanne Malcolm of Toronto was charged. He appeared in court that same day. Now, data from the Toronto police say this is the city's 14th homicide of 2021. Bunny Wailer, a reggae icon and founding member of the Wailers, has died at the age of 73. The Trenchtown native, whose given name is Neville Livingston, died at hospital this morning. Bunny Wailer had been in and out of hospital since his second stroke in July 2020. Now, in 2017, the Jamaican government awarded Bunny Wailer an Order of Merit, the country's 4th highest honor. He was again recognized by the government for his contribution to Jamaican music in February 2019 with a Reggae Gold Award. Bunny Wailer recorded albums such as Black Heart Man, released in 1976, and Rock and Groove, which came out in 1981. His hit songs include Bald-Headed Jesus, Cool Runnings, Crucial, and Ballroom Floor. Bunny Wailer was the only surviving member of the iconic group, which included Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. The government is pressing ahead with its 3-year housing rollout of the Edmund Ridge Estate in Rosal, St. James. This is part of efforts to honor its commitment to regularize communities and improve the lives of citizens within the next 5 years.
This is the new Jamaica.
building homes to develop sustainable communities towards a sustainable and resilient nation.
Minister of Housing, Pernell Charles Jr., speaking at the official launch of the first of 3 model housing units under Phase 1 of the new Edmund Ridge Estate development at Rose Hall in St. James recently. Phase 1 of the development will constitute 155 mixed units and will be complemented by infrastructure development, including roads, adequate water supply, drainage work, and community amenities. The infrastructure alone is estimated to cost $350 million. Minister Charles said the development, which he describes as a resilient housing solution, is a reflection of the government's commitment to regularizing communities and uplifting the nation.
This is what we define as moving Jamaica towards becoming a more sustainable and resilient country.
The housing project, which has been named in honor of Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, will be realized through a partnership between the China-based Henan Fifth Construction Group Company and the Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ. Minister Bartlett, who is the Member of Parliament for East Central St. James, where Edmund Ridge Estate is located, said the housing project will add value to the area and the lives of residents.
I want to say the development of Edmund Ridge is beyond a simple housing scheme. It is a game changer for this entire area. Its presence here is going to mean the provision of critical infrastructure that was either lacking or missing.
The 96-acre development is expected to provide 772 housing solutions over 3 years in response to housing needs of low to middle income earners in St. James, as well as persons employed in the tourist sector. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.